Our mission today, then, is to embark on this intense album quest, analyzing the results of a particularly contentious matchup. We're looking at round 2, Group 25.
And this round 2, this is where the quality floor just gets dramatically raised. For those of you who are just joining this monumental quest, the methodology is really rigid. It demands repeated, unbiased listening. Albums are randomly grouped into 4s.
It's thrown together.
Completely random. And the rule, which was instituted by the author Greensterox, is simple. Listen, grade them from 1st all the way through to 4th, and only the top 2 get to advance.
And it's not about sales figures, right, or critical acclaim.
No, none of that. It's about which records withstand the greatest scrutiny over multiple comparative listens. It's a pure test of the music itself.
Absolutely. And I think that's key. When you get to round 2, every single contender has already fought its way through a difficult round 1 pairing.
They're battle-tested.
Exactly. They've already proven they have the consistency to knock out 2 other records. So today, we're focusing on 4 extremely distinct albums, battling for just 2 spots in the prestigious round 3.
It's an almost impossibly eclectic grouping, isn't it? I mean, we have a defining record from mainstream hip-hop Jay-Z's star-studded The Blueprint 3.
A giant of the genre.
A giant. Then we have the powerhouse pop rock debut, Songs About Jane by Maroon 5. Representing the singer-songwriter tradition, we have James Blunt's later effort, Once Upon a Mind.
And then there's the ultimate curveball. The album that just defied all expectations and, frankly, all conventional wisdom. The film soundtrack, Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron by Bryan Adams. The final rankings of this group, where this, quote, horse cartoon soundtrack triumphed over hip-hop royalty, that is the central riddle we are here to solve.
It really is. It's a fascinating result.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Before we even get to the results of Group 25, I think we need to fully appreciate the caliber of competition these albums had already defeated.
Yes, you have to. Survival in round 1 defines their pedigree. It gives context to their quality level when they enter round 2.
It tells you they belong there.
Exactly. Understanding their history is everything. Let's start with Jay-Z's The Blueprint 3. Now, while it was a commercial behemoth, its path through round 1, Group 159, was not a cakewalk.
Oh, really?
Not at all. It had to assert its dominance over a pretty strong field of late 90s and 2000s rock and grime.
Okay, so which albums were sacrificed at the altar of Hova in round 1?
Well, Jay-Z secured his spot by successfully defeating the Stereophonics debut, Word Gets Around.
Oh, that's a big one.
It's a foundational UK rock record, a huge critical and commercial success in its own right, known for tracks like Local Boy and The Photograph.
Classic.
He also took out Velvet Revolver's debut, Contraband. And that's a rock supergroup with members of Guns N' Roses and Stone Temple Pilots. Pure rock pedigree right there.
Sure, yeah.
And finally, a key competitor, Dizzy Rascal's grime pop fusion record, Tongue in Cheek. So you see, Jay-Z faced rock veterans on the cutting edge of UK urban music and still successfully demonstrated the reach and quality of Blueprint 3.
That sets a very high bar. Okay, next up, the early 2000s staple, Maroon 5's Songs About Jane. This album qualified from round 1, Group 18, and the depth of its competition is genuinely surprising to me.
It's a testament to the sheer catchiness, and I have to say, the musicianship of that Maroon 5 debut, that it not only qualified but actually won its group outright.
Who did they beat?
They defeated the Finn Brothers album, Everyone Is Here, which represents, high-quality, very thoughtful pop songwriting from Neil and Tim Finn.
But the real shocker is the classic rock giant they dispatched, right?
Exactly. This is the big one. Maroon 5 knocked out Dire Straits' 1982 masterpiece, Love Over Gold.
Wow.
Yeah. We're talking about an album that contains the nearly 15-minute progressive epic Telegraph Road and the intricate atmospheric title track.
That's unbelievable.
It is. For a 2002 pop rock debut to stand taller than a complex, highly revered Dire Straits album in a head-to-head comparison, it just speaks volumes about songs, about Jane's enduring appeal, and really, it's flawless execution.
And who was the 4th?
They also defeated a compilation from the 80s pop band Thompson Twins, so a really strong group.
Okay, moving on to Bryan Adams, the unexpected hero of Group 25, Spirit. Stallion of the Cimarron emerged from round 1, Group 13. Given the final result, this initial victory proves the album's mettle.
It certainly does. Adams took the top ranking in a group that forced him to contend with major pop and rock figures. He defeated Pink's energetic and genre-bending album, Try This. He also overcame George Michael's major career retrospective, the double disc collection 25.
That's huge.
And finally, he edged out Thin Lizzy's Wild One compilation. The fact that a dedicated soundtrack, a genre that's often associated with, let's be honest, fleeting commerciality,
Like background music.
that it could overcome an essential George Michael collection and a thin Lizzie retrospective means the consistency of the songwriting on Spirit must be truly remarkable.
It just eliminates any suggestion that this album advanced merely because it faced weak competition in round one.
Not a chance.
It faced legends and major commercial forces and won. Okay, finally, James Blunt's Once Upon a Mind, which secured its spot from round one, Group 214.
And this is perhaps the most bizarrely grouped qualifier of them all. Blunt had to navigate classical music, modern dance pop, and hard rock history.
He placed second, you're right. But he still advanced.
He did. He advanced by defeating Clean Bandit's electronic pop record, What Is Love, and perhaps most incredibly, he defeated the best of Beethoven on vinyl.
He beat Beethoven.
He beat Beethoven. The critic eliminated the classical titan. We must stress, however, that Blunt placed second behind AC/DC's colossal Back in Black, also on vinyl.
Okay, so there's no shame in that.
None at all. So, Once Upon a Mind proved just consistent enough to edge out a high-caliber modern pop act and a historical classical recording while sitting in the shadow of one of the greatest hard rock albums ever made.
So the takeaway is, every contender in Group 25 arrived with a justifiable pedigree. They earned their spot.
Absolutely. No imposters here.
So here's where the methodology of the album quest really directly confronts cultural reality.
Yeah.
When you line up these four albums, Jay-Z, Maroon 5, Bryan Adams, and James Blunt, the media's perceived coolness is almost comically polarized.
It is the ultimate test of the critic's discipline, isn't it? On one side, you have the cool camp.
Right.
Jay-Z's The Blueprint 3 is just defined by prestige. It's the sound of a cultural icon, featuring the hottest collaborators, embodying success and street credibility. It's almost impossible to listen to it without feeling the weight of its cultural significance.
And similarly, Maroon 5's songs, About Jane, arrived with such swagger. It was the epitome of early 2000s radio gloss. It was funky, fashionable, and just inescapable. It represented youth, trendiness, and immediate commercial appeal.
And then you have the uncool camp. Bryan Adams, often associated with power ballads and 80s rock, and James Blunt, whose output is often, and I think somewhat unfairly, dismissed by certain critics.
Yeah.
The source author points out the media's tendency to brand them as housewives' favorites. They just lack the critical cachet or the current cultural momentum of a Jay-Z release.
And this cultural distinction is exactly what the album quest must actively filter out.
It has to.
The critic makes this powerful, necessary point that this abstract concept of coolness has no real material bearing on the quality of produced music.
It is the core thesis of the entire project. If you, the listener, are constantly bombarded by information, whether it's music, politics, business, with this heavy layer of hype and social signaling attached.
Which we all are.
We all are. Constantly. You have to develop the mechanism to strip that away. And this quest methodology forces the critic to judge the work on its internal merit. The composition, the arrangement, the musicianship, the coherence of the album as a whole. Nothing else.
But isn't there an argument that Jay-Z's star power and sheer cultural impact naturally give The Blueprint 3 an emotional weight that pure, quiet songcraft can't really touch? Are we really saying Bryan Adams is a better listening experience than a definitive blockbuster hip-hop statement?
And that is the beautiful tension of this result. The critic has to answer your question with a resounding yes. The methodology dictates that we ignore that emotional weight that's derived from cultural significance.
It has to be purely about the sound.
It's focused on the quality of the sound coming out of the speakers, independent of who made it or how famous they are. The critic stated explicitly that he allows himself to enjoy the music in complete disregard of social standing.
And that gives the soundtrack, a genre that's so frequently dismissed as just utilitarian background music. It gives it the platform to challenge these prestige projects.
It levels the playing field completely.
And for you, our listener, the learner, this is a profound reminder.
Yeah.
Don't let genre bias, whether it's toward critically acclaimed hip-hop or dismissed soft rock, dictate your consumption. Focus on the execution. In this quest, the elegance of the uncool soundtrack ultimately proved more consistent and enduring than the high-fashion hits of the cool camp.
A perfect summary.
So the critical moment in Group 25 was this face-off between two albums that were acquired around the same time in the mid-2000s, Songs About Jane and Spirit. This was a contest between two really distinct approaches to album construction.
It was. You had immediate, energetic pop versus patient thematic composition.
Let's start with Maroon 5. Songs About Jane is a spectacular example of an album just built for immediate radio-friendly success.
Absolutely. The critic purchased it after intense MTV exposure, those weekends spent just glued to music television, watching Harder to Breathe and This Love on repeat. It really defined an era.
The style is so immediately gratifying.
It truly is. The album is described as sweeping the listener along with funky pop hooks, silky vocals, and excellent musicianship. The rhythm section is so taut and precise, but the album's real strength is that interplay between Adam Levine and the guitarist, James Valentine. Levine's smooth and sensual delivery carries all the commercial appeal, while Valentine's superb guitar playing, often using these precise, clean funk rhythms, provides the structural integrity and the musical sophistication.
And there was that fascinating production query the critic raised about She Will Be Loved.
Yes, the ballad She Will Be Loved is arguably the album's emotional core.
Right? It's for sure.
Yet the critic was intrigued by whether Levine's voice sounded slightly synthesized. Was this a deliberate, stylized use of auto-tune or heavy compression to polish the vocal, which was very common in the early 2000s?
Right, that was the sound.
Or was it simply the natural, highly processed sheen of his voice? It's a detail that hints at the technology being applied to elevate that pop factor.
And you can hear other influences, too.
Oh, clearly. Clear influence of classic R&B and funk. The track The Sun, for instance, channels the energy and that distinct keyboard riff approach of Stevie Wonder's Superstition.
Right, yeah.
It's an album that is fun, technically sound, and just relentlessly catchy.
Okay, now let's pivot to the eventual victor, Bryan Adams' Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron. The critic's initial resistance to this album is one of the most relatable anecdotes in the entire quest.
It's the perfect narrative setup for a surprise victory, isn't it? This was a Christmas gift, and the critic admitted his initial reaction was just, "Are you kidding me? A friggin' horse album?" He talks about his preference for the live-action cutscenes of the computer game Red Alert 2 over animated films, making his rejection of a horse cartoon soundtrack immediate and visceral.
He just had no interest.
None. He saw no reason to listen to it. He likened it to not rushing out to buy the soundtrack for The Lion King, even if you liked Elton John.
So how does such entrenched dismissal evolve into declaring it the elegant and deserved winner?
Pure persistence. As the critic notes, he's a sucker for listening to just about anything, so he eventually just put the CD in his car player.
Okay.
And what followed was a slow, deliberate conversion. Over a few weeks of repeated commuting, the album revealed its depth. And the verdict was undeniable. My sister was right. This is a beautiful little album. Though at 60 minutes long, it's far from little.
The key distinction here is the musical style, right? The elegant slow burn.
Precisely. Unlike the immediate hit of Maroon 5, Spirit is not so immediate. It demands patience, but it rewards that patience with sumptuously elegant songcraft. And the length, 60 minutes, is used for thematic development, which is pretty typical of a Hans Zimmer collaboration.
Who co-wrote much of the material with Adams.
That's right. And let's focus on that production royalty for a second. Trevor Horn, Robert Mutt-Lange, Hans Zimmer, that's an absurdly talented team dedicated to this single project.
So how does their talent manifest on the album?
It's evident in the sonic clarity and the emotional weight. Adams' vocal performance is frequently praised, sounding positively gorgeous, even superior to his rock albums like Reckless.
Really?
Yeah, and this is likely due to the less aggressive instrumentation, which allows his vocal texture and range to really shine. The album utilizes Hans Zimmer's strengths for these expansive, sweeping themes. The recurring motif, Here I Am, co-written by Adams and Zimmer, is the emotional anchor, and it showcases this masterful orchestration blended seamlessly with Adam's voice.
And the input from the other legendary producers, Mutt-Lange and Trevor Horn.
Well, Trevor Horn, known for his dense, innovative production on albums like Frankie Goes to Hollywood's Welcome to the Pleasure Dome.
A classic.
He contributed specifically to the somber track, Sound the Bugle, and you can hear his touch in the crisp, atmospheric layering of the instrumentation. It gives that track a real gravitas.
And Mutt-Lange.
Robert Mutt-Lange, famous for his immaculate clarity and massive sound on AC/DC and Def Leppard records, he co-wrote I Will Always Return. His influence ensures that even the acoustic elements have maximum punch and sonic perfection.
So what you're saying is the album is built on a foundation of structural perfection provided by Lange and Horn, and then layered with the thematic genius of Zimmer.
Absolutely. That level of investment just guarantees a quality that transcends the typical soundtrack. Take the duet Don't Let Go with Sarah McLachlan. It's beautiful, blending two distinct vocal textures perfectly. And the critic noted a very specific, quirky musical similarity here. McLachlan's recurring vocal motif bears a striking resemblance to the backing vocals on Shakespeare Sisters' 1990 single Stay With Me.
That is a deep cut.
It is. And that level of specific sonic memory just shows how deeply the critic engaged with the album during his multiple listens.
The album isn't flawless, though, is it?
No. Now, the pace naturally drops off during Zimmer's purely instrumental sections, which are, necessary for the film's narrative, but they do detract slightly from the listening experience when the visual context is removed.
Sure.
However, the overall consistency and the sheer quality of the compositions were enough. After that patient listening, the horse cartoon soundtrack was the elegant and deserved winner, advancing alongside Maroon 5.
Which means two albums had to fall. The fact that Jay-Z's The Blueprint 3 ended up in last place is the most headline-grabbing result of Group 25. But before we get to Hova's defeat, let's analyze why James Blunt's Once Upon a Mind secured a fairly uncontentious third place.
Okay. James Blunt's placement is defined by two factors: immense technical quality that shines in bursts, but then structural inconsistency. This was his sixth studio album, and the critics started the review with very high praise for its production.
So what does sensational audio production mean in technical terms for this album?
It signifies clarity and dynamic range. The sound quality is described as truly great. And this suggests that the separation of instrumentation in the mix is just crystal clear. You can distinctly hear the warmth of the grand piano, the delicate strumming of acoustic guitars, and the clarity of Blunt's vocal delivery without any distortion or muddiness.
So it's a pleasure to listen to, sonically.
It's a beautifully engineered record, yes. It makes it a pleasure to listen to purely on a sonic level.
And musically, where did this sonic perfection truly pay off?
The album's opening is superb. The tracks, The Truth and Cold, are called as good as anything he's done, and they showcase his talent for building genuinely moving melodies. The track Monster is noted for its high emotional impact, dealing with very serious personal reflection. And the chilling, atmospheric track, How It Feels to Be Alive, which is driven by this sparse, powerful grand piano, it demonstrates his ability to create genuinely grand, cinematic moments.
So, high technical marks and several exceptional tracks. Why did it fall short of Maroon 5?
The Achilles heel was inconsistency, paired with what the critic calls unforgivable brevity. He noted that the quality dips sharply in the middle. Tracks like I Told You and 5 Miles simply don't resonate with the same emotional or musical depth as the high points.
And the length issue is critical here, you're saying?
Absolutely. At only 36 minutes long, the critic determined it was a bit unforgivable not to be all killer. When an album is that short, there is no fat to trim. Every single track has to justify its inclusion.
All killer, no filler.
Exactly. And because the middle section contained tracks the critic doesn't particularly care for, the entire effort felt inconsistent. And that prevented it from surpassing the sustained quality of Maroon 5 or the elegant depth of Bryan Adams. It simply lacked the sustained excellence of Blunt's own better albums like Back to Bedlam or All the Lost Souls.
Okay, that brings us to fourth place, Jay-Z's The Blueprint 3. How does an album that debuted at number 1, featuring virtually every star in the music world, Kanye West, Rihanna, Alicia Keys, how does it end up last in a group containing a soundtrack?
It's the ultimate lesson, isn't it, in the difference between commercial success and structural coherence. It is a solidly entertaining hip-hop record, delivered by a legend, but solid entertainment just wasn't sufficient in this high-quality group. The album's strength is its collaborators and its incredible production, which is evident in bursts.
Let's acknowledge those high points because there are many.
Oh, they are numerous. Tracks like Reminder, Off That, Hate, Death of Auto-Tune, which was a really powerful statement at the time.
It was.
And on to the next one were all impressive. They showcased Jay-Z's lyrical dexterity and energy, and the undeniable highlight, which almost saves the album, is Run This Town.
Right.
That track is specifically praised for Rihanna's luscious vocals and Kanye West's captivating rap performance, which combined to create a truly monumental sound.
So if the highs are that high, where does the collapse occur?
It falters significantly in the less tuneful affairs, such as Thank You and Real As It Gets, where the flow and production feel a bit sluggish and less impactful. But the critical condemnation is saved for the enormous blockbuster single that defines the album for many people.
Empire State of Mind.
Empire State of Mind.
The ultimate earworm and cultural touchstone. What structural flaw was so significant it helped tank the entire album in this quest?
The critic found a fundamental melodic disconnect. He writes that the sweet melodic vocal chorus from Alicia Keys doesn't seem to meld brilliantly with Jay-Z's rap. Think about the arrangement. Keys provides the soaring anthemic chorus defining this mood of grandeur, but Jay-Z's rap verses felt rhythmically and tonally detached from that soaring melody.
So it wasn't a flaw in the individual components, Jay-Z's part or her part, but a clash in the arrangement or the delivery.
Precisely. It felt like two separately recorded entities that were just layered on top of one another rather than a cohesive musical conversation. Instead of the rap and the chorus enhancing one another, the critic felt this lack of synergy effectively sabotaged the impact, ruining the effect.
Wow.
And when your biggest single, the song meant to define the entire album, has such a critical structural flaw upon repeated listening, it severely undermines the album's bid for long-term consistency. The Blueprint 3, despite all its star power, simply couldn't compete with the focused execution of Spirit and songs about Jane.
So what does this all mean for the methodology and for the albums involved? We saw the ultimate triumph of quiet consistency over, well, inconsistent fanfare. Let's summarize a final, frankly shocking outcome of Round 2, Group 25.
The final rankings completely defied the media narrative of coolness. In first place, Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron by Bryan Adams.
Amazing.
Second place, advancing with it, Songs About Jane by Maroon 5.
Okay.
In third, Once Upon a Mind by James Blunt. And in fourth place, The Blueprint 3 by Jay-Z.
The significance of this result is that the self-imposed critical framework worked perfectly.
It did.
The album that was initially dismissed, the soundtrack, the Horth album, it won because it sustained a higher level of compositional quality over its 60-minute running time than its superstar competitors.
It is a massive validation of the methodology of ignoring hype. Bryan Adams, supported by the immense talent of Hans Zimmer, Trevor Horn, and Mutt Lange, delivered an elegant listening experience. Maroon 5's debut survived by delivering superior, consistent pop hooks. The two records that faltered, James Blunt's due to poor length and inconsistency, and Jay-Z's due to key structural flaws in his biggest tracks, they were eliminated.
And we are now 25 groups deep into Round 2. That means 50 albums are now advancing to the third round.
50.
So Bryan Adams and Maroon 5 must now prepare for a massive jump in competitive quality. The competition ahead is just brutal.
Indeed. We need to remind ourselves of the sheer scale and quality of the records that are already waiting for them. And to quote the track that almost saved Jay-Z, reminder, I think I better give you a reminder of the challenge ahead. Round 3 is where foundational albums battle.
We're talking about an opponent list that represents the absolute zenith of their respective genres. I mean, this is a whole other level.
It is, exactly. The Round 3 roster already includes the Beatles' iconic Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band and their Defining Hits Compilation 1.
Wow.
We have the hard rock standard AC/DC's Back in Black, which we know just qualified from Blunt's Round 1 group. Dire Straits' definitive masterpiece, Brothers in Arms, is waiting there.
And the range is staggering. They're going to face the slick 80s pop of Fleetwood Mac's Tango in the Night. The lyrical genius of Eminem's career summary Curtain Call. And the explosive raw debut of the Arctic Monkeys. Whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not.
And even James Blunt gets another shot because his demonstrably superior 2010 album Some Kind of Trouble successfully advanced from a different group. Add to that the funky rock depth of Red Hot Chili Peppers' Blood Sugar Sex Magic and foundational albums like Elton John's Tumbleweed Connection and Black's Wonderful Life.
The fact that Adams' initially scorned soundtrack and Maroon 5's early debut must now navigate a field defined by these titans of music history, it is the ultimate vindication of their quality.
It is.
They are moving from competing against inconsistent blockbusters to competing against albums frequently cited as the best of all time.
Round 3 guarantees that every moment of every single advancing album will be tested for its enduring quality, its innovation, and its consistency. It's the acid test, and we'll see if the quiet elegance of the horse cartoon soundtrack can survive the next level of musical warfare.
What an unexpected conclusion to Group 25. The enduring elegance of an animated film soundtrack, Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron, stood firm and conquered both the immediate pop appeal of Maroon 5 and the undeniable star power of Jay-Z. It's a powerful statement about listening without prejudice and prioritizing composition over cultural hype.
And that leads us to our final thought for you, the listener, as you consider your own listening habits. The critic admitted that despite loving the music, he still hadn't watched the horse cartoon one day.
Right.
So if a piece of music, produced explicitly to score a visual narrative with recurring themes and instrumentation tailored to enhance images, if it can stand entirely on its own musical merit, winning purely through patient, high-quality collaborative songwriting and production, does the listener need to engage with the visual context at all to truly appreciate soundtrack albums?
That's a great question.
Or is the music's independence from its source material, its ability to exist purely as abstract sound, is that the true measure of its quality and its ultimate victory in the quest? Something to mull over next time you decide to take on an album quest of your own.